Sometimes life isn't fair. No matter how hard you try, it seems to give the same painful results. But through it all, remain kind, honest, and your time will come. Here is another eventful story. Let's dive into Cries of the Betrayal. In a small dusty town just outside Harare lived a woman called Mary, but everyone knew her as Mama Mary. Not because she had children, she didn't, but because she was gentle, kind, and always motherly to others. Children flocked to her for sweets, stories, and warm hugs. She smiled through the ache that sat heavy in her chest, the ache of emptiness, the ache of being barren. Mama Mary had been married for 10 years. In the beginning, her husband Elias loved her dearly. They prayed together, farmed their small plot of land, and held on to hope. But the years passed. No pregnancy, no cry of a baby to fill the silence of the house. Pressure came from Elias's family. Whispers in the dark. Pity in the eyes of neighbors. Eventually, Elias took a second wife, a younger, fuller-figured woman named Netsai. At first, Netsai showed Mary respect, even calling her Sisi. Mama Mary helped Netsai settle in, even cooked for her in the early months of pregnancy. When the baby came, a beautiful baby boy named Tadiwa, everything changed. Netsai, now drunk with pride and the power of motherhood, started to mock Mama Mary. "Ah, how can a woman be a wife and not a mother?" she would say, loud enough for Mary to hear. "You can't even grow tomatoes, let alone a baby." Mama Mary endured it all in silence. She focused on her chores, her garden, and her prayers. Elias, once her protector, started to drift. He now spent most of his nights in Netsai's hut. When he did speak to Mary, it was always with a hint of irritation. "Maybe you should let Netsai be the main wife now," he said one evening. "She is giving us children. What are you giving?" But Mama Mary remained obedient, still setting water for him to bathe, still cooking for the whole family. She loved Tadiwa as her own, often carrying him on her back, singing lullabies that no one ever sang for her own child. Then came the day everything shattered. Tadiwa, now 3, was playing near the granary when Netsai called out angrily. Witnesses said she shoved the boy hard in frustration. He tripped over a stone and landed badly, his small arm fractured. The boy screamed in pain, his tiny voice slicing through the afternoon stillness. But Netsai, ever cunning, ran into the village screaming, "Mary has bewitched my child. She's jealous of me because I have what she doesn't." Later that night, she faked signs of a miscarriage, clutching her belly and claiming the trauma of her son's injury had caused it. The village healer, swayed by Netsai's theatrics, did not dispute her claims. Elias turned on Mama Mary like a rabid dog. "You evil woman!" he shouted, his voice cracking with fury. "You break a child's arm, and now you kill an unborn one. You were always a curse. I was blind." The news spread like wildfire. Yet many neighbors and relatives were torn. They had known Mama Mary all their lives. They remembered how she helped deliver babies, cooked for funerals, even paid school fees for distant nieces. "She would never do such a thing," whispered old Aunt Shuvai. "Mary has a heart of gold." But words of kindness could not stop what was coming. Elias, now fully under Netsai's spell, told Mama Mary to pack her things. She was going home, for good. Mama Mary didn't scream. She didn't plead. She simply folded her few dresses, wrapped her Bible in a scarf, and walked to the bus stop with nothing but a torn suitcase and silent tears. Part 2. The bus groaned to a halt in the dusty village of Mondoro as dusk painted the skies in shades of orange and grey. Mary stepped off with her worn suitcase, heart heavy but face calm. As she approached the old family homestead, her eyes fell on a familiar figure waddling toward her, Anna, her brother Tawanda's wife, heavily pregnant. Without a word, the two women embraced tightly. Tears flowed freely. Words were useless. They stood in silence, the past and present swirling around them in a painful dance. Inside the small home, not much had changed. The same wooden bench, the charcoal stove, the faded photo of their late parents still hanging on the cracked wall. Mary and Tawanda had become orphans shortly after she married Elias. Their mother died of cervical cancer, a cruel, quiet killer. Their father, once a proud man with a booming laugh, followed barely 6 months later. The grief had swallowed him whole. Everyone said he died of a broken heart. When Tawanda returned from work that evening, he froze at the doorway. His big sister, once so proud and strong, now looked weary, defeated, her eyes hollow from betrayal and sorrow. He dropped his bag, rushed to her, and embraced her like he did when they were children. They wept in each other's arms, no longer hiding their pain. "Cece," he said, voice choked with emotion. "From today, you are not alone. You are home. You don't need to remarry. My children will be your children too, I promise." Mary smiled faintly through the tears. For the first time in months, she felt safe. Not healed, but held. Together, they began to rebuild a fragile peace. Days passed with laughter, storytelling, and quiet prayers. Mary helped Anna with household chores, preparing for the baby's arrival. She often rubbed her sister-in-law's swollen belly, humming lullabies and braiding her hair in the evenings. Anna adored Mary. "If I ever don't make it, I know my child will be loved," she had once joked. Mary had shushed her quickly. "Don't say such things," she'd scold gently. "You'll live to see your grandchildren." But fate had its own cruel plans. 2 months after Mary's return, it began. A sharp cry from Anna woke the house in the early hours of dawn. Her water had broken. Tawanda bundled her into a borrowed Scotch cart and rushed to the clinic 7 kilometers away. Mary followed on foot with a neighbor. Hours passed, then silence. A nurse stepped outside, face pale. "We did our best," she said softly. "The baby girl is alive, but Anna didn't make it." The world spun. Mary screamed. Tawanda collapsed to his knees, clutching his head. His wife, his partner, the mother of his children, gone. He couldn't understand it, couldn't bear it. The grief cracked him open. Part 3. An hour after Anna's death, the nurse returned to the waiting room, where Mary sat holding the newborn baby. Her eyes were red and swollen, but her arms were steady. The nurse looked at her, then at the floor before quietly asking, "Where is Tawanda?" Mary stood, sensing something worse was coming. "He's outside." "Why?" The nurse hesitated, then spoke. "I'm sorry, but there's more. The baby, she can't see." The complications during delivery caused severe damage to her eyes. "She's permanently blind." Mary's knees buckled. The nurse rushed to steady her. The child she already loved like her own, now sentenced to a world of darkness. She whispered softly, "Mwari." Why? Tawanda never took the news well. After burying his beloved Anna, something inside him broke completely. The next morning, he was gone, just like that. Some said they saw him walking toward the river with a blank stare. Others claimed he was seen wandering through the hills, muttering to himself. But no one ever found him. Not his body, not his belongings, not a word. Mary was left alone, with a blind baby, a silent home, and a broken heart. She named the baby girl Munana, meaning grace. And grace she was. A quiet, curious child who responded to sound, music, and her aunt's loving touch. Though Mary had little, she gave Munana everything she could: warmth, stories, and endless love. A year passed, then 2. Mama Mary resumed teaching part-time at the local preaching school. The pay was barely enough, but it kept food on the table and allowed her to send Munana to a special school for the visually impaired. Every morning she braided her hair, packed a simple lunch, and kissed her forehead. Years rolled on, like a slow river. 7 years later, Munana had grown into a smart, beautiful girl with a sharp mind and laughter like wind chimes. Mary, though older and more tired, remained strong. One day, after setting aside every coin she could save, Mama Mary took Munana to a big hospital in Harare. She prayed the city doctors might offer hope, but after a long series of tests, the news was grim. The specialist shook his head. "She lost her sight long ago. The damage is permanent. The window for repair closed years back." Mary felt her world spin again. "Are you sure?" she pleaded. "Is there no other way? Please." She's still so young, the doctor sighed. Well, there is one path, a corneal transplant, but she'd need a donor, and even then it's complicated. It's rare, costly, and not guaranteed. Mary's eyes lit up. Can I donate mine? The doctor blinked in surprise. Madam, you don't understand. The donor has to give it while alive, and that's impossible in most cases. But even if you could, the child is still growing. Her body could reject it now. Wait until she turns 18. Then, if her condition hasn't worsened, you may have a chance. For now, just love her. Care for her. Care for her. Mary nodded slowly, holding back tears. That night, she sat beside Munana, who slept peacefully, unaware of the world she could not see. She took her hand and whispered, "My sweet child, one day, when you turn 18, I will give you the world. I will give you my eyes so you can finally see all the colors of the sun, the flowers you smell, and the sky you hear in my stories." It became her silent vow, her reason to keep going. No matter what, when that day came, she would give Munana the gift of sight, and until then, she would be her light. Part 4. From the day Munana could speak, she called her Mama. No matter how many times Mary explained, "I'm your aunt, my child," Munana would smile and shake her head. "You are my mother," she'd say softly. "You feed me, clothe me, hold me when I cry. That's what a mother does. That's what you are." Mary never argued again. The years rolled by with laughter, music, and lessons in the dark. Though Munana had never seen the world, she felt it through Mary's stories, vivid tales of flowers in bloom, clouds rolling across the sky, bright city lights, and dusty village paths. It was as if she could see through her aunt's voice. On Munana's 18th birthday, the house buzzed with quiet excitement. Mary had made sweet buns, cooked beans with peanut butter, and brewed sweet tea. As they sat outside under the stars, Mary took her hand. "I have a gift for you," she said. Munana smiled. "What is it, Mama?" Mary hesitated, heart pounding. "It's something you can't say no to. You can't return it, and you can't regret it. It's the only way I can show you how much I love you, as a mother." Curiosity burned in Munana's chest. "Please, Mama, tell me what it is." Mary only smiled. "You'll find out soon." 2 days later, they boarded a bus to Harare. Munana was excited, but Mary was nervous. She had not told her the truth, that she planned to donate her own corneas to give Munana sight. She feared the girl would refuse. "If she knows," Mary told herself, "she'll never let me do it." At the hospital, they waited for hours before being called in for final consultation. The doctor reviewed their file, then frowned. "Madam," he said carefully, "your payment only covers half the procedure. The donor surgery, recovery, and transplant aftercare, none of it is covered." Mary's heart sank. She stepped outside, clutching her bag. She had already sold her goats, her clothes, her kitchenware. But now, she returned home the same day and made the hardest decision of her life. She sold their small piece of land and the family home she had grown up in. It wasn't much, but she hoped it would be enough. When she returned to the hospital a week later with the money, she found herself short once again. Prices had gone up. She was still missing a portion. Sitting on a cold hospital corridor floor, her bag empty and soul-weary, Mary broke down. The tears flowed freely. "God," she whispered, "I've come this far. I've given up everything. Just let my child see." A nurse in blue scrubs passed by, stopped and turned around. He stared at her, blinking as if unsure. "Mama Mary," she looked up, eyes swollen. "Yes?" she replied softly. The young man approached her slowly. "It's me, Tapiwa." Part 5. "Mama Mary, it's me, Tapiwa, from Norton. You clothed and fed me when I was young and being abused by my stepmother. You disappeared, and I always wondered if I'd ever see you again." Mary's teary eyes locked with his. She blinked, stunned. Then the years rolled away in her memory like mist under the morning sun. "Tapiwa," she whispered. "It's really you." He nodded, kneeling beside her. "Yes, Mama, it's me." She reached out, cupping his cheek. You've grown into a fine man. How old are you now? 26, he said with a small smile. She chuckled through her tears. You're a big boy now. Then Tapiwa noticed the girl sitting quietly beside Mary. Her head was tilted slightly, listening, her eyes clouded, but her face radiant. And who is this? He asked gently. Mary smiled proudly. This is my daughter, Munana. She nodded. Not by birth, but by heart. My brother's child. But I raised her. She is the joy that kept me alive. Tapiwa blinked. Your daughter? Tapiwa asked if he could talk to her. Mary gave a small nod. He took Munana's hand and led her gently down the corridor. She walked with confidence, and he spoke softly to her. You must be a very special girl to have Mama Mary love you like this. She is my world, Munana replied. She is the only mother I've ever known. Tapiwa's heart swelled. Back with Mary, he sat down beside her and said, Mama, please, don't give her your eyes. Mary frowned. But it's all I have left to give. I promised her. No, Tapiwa said firmly. I will pay for the donor. You don't need to do this. She shook her head. It's too much. A waste of money. It's not, he said, voice cracking. When I was young and broken, you gave me life. You fed me. You prayed for me. You treated me like your own when no one else did. You were the mother I didn't have. My heart has yearned for you every day since. He took her trembling hands. Now that I've found you, I won't let go again. Please, Mama, give me the money you've raised and I'll take care of the rest. After a long pause, Mary surrendered her bag to him with quiet hope. An hour later, the hospital staff called her name. It was time. They began prepping Munana for surgery. Mary couldn't stop pacing. When the doctor finally emerged and said, the surgery went well. Her legs gave out. Tapiwa caught her just in time. The next day, Mary refused to leave the hospital. She wanted to be there when Munana opened her eyes for the first time. She's my heart, she said. I want to be the first thing she sees. But the hospital didn't allow overnight stays in recovery. Tapiwa smiled gently. Come with me, he said. You need rest. I have space. He took her to a modest 2-bedroom flat nearby. The walls were bare, the furniture simple, but it was clean, warm, and peaceful. This, he said as he opened the door, is your home now, for as long as you live. Mary froze. But I can't stay here. I've got nothing left. Part 6. The day of Munana's discharge arrived, and the atmosphere in the hospital room was heavy with anticipation. Mama Mary held her breath as the doctor gently unwrapped the gauze from Munana's eyes. Tapiwa stood nearby, quiet but hopeful. A hush fell over the room. Then light. Munana blinked several times, her eyes adjusting slowly to the brightness. Her gaze shifted, wide and shimmering with tears. She saw her mother's face for the very first time. Mama, she whispered, her voice breaking. You're so beautiful. Tears streamed down Mary's cheeks as she pulled her into a warm embrace. You see me, my child. You finally see me. But Munana's joy didn't end there. As she turned her head, her eyes landed on Tapiwa, the man who had given everything to help her. Her face flushed, and she smiled with a mix of gratitude and shy admiration. Thank you, Brother Tapiwa, she said softly. If heaven gives me the chance in this life, I will repay you. May God bless you. Tapiwa smiled, humbled. Your sight is my blessing. The discharge process began, and together they helped Munana gather her belongings. But this wasn't just a return home. It was the beginning of a new chapter. Their new home. Tapiwa, who had emptied his savings to pay for Munana's surgery, had nowhere else to go. But he never complained. Not once did he regret his sacrifice. Instead, he walked into the house every day with joy in his heart. Because for the first time in years, he had a family, something money could never buy. Munana, now seeing the world for the first time, was like a child rediscovering life. Every flower, every cup, every color fascinated her, and for everything she didn't understand, she would call out to Tapiwa, Brother Tapiwa, why does the moon follow us when we walk? Tapiwa, what color is your favorite? Why do birds fly in V shapes? He would chuckle, sometimes amused, sometimes thoughtful, and always patient. And every day, without fail, Tapiwa would come home to a hot, home-cooked meal. Munana had made a vow. I will care for you both as long as I live, in whatever way I can. She kept it with pride. Their small home, though modest, buzzed with laughter, warmth, and the kind of love that didn't come from bloodlines, but from sacrifice, healing, and kindness. As time went by, Mama Mary noticed a quiet change in the house. Tapiwa, who used to arrive home casually, now rushed through the door, often with flowers in hand or sweets for Munana. He'd ask if she needed help, linger longer in conversations, and often sat near her as she read or cleaned. Mary watched with knowing eyes, her heart both full and amused. Old age had given her more than just wrinkles. It had given her wisdom. She saw the way Munana looked at Tapiwa too, the way her eyes sparkled when he entered, the way her voice softened around him. But Mama Mary never said a word. She only smiled quietly and gave thanks to God. To be continued, dear listeners. If you're enjoying my stories, please I'll kindly ask you to not forget to like, share, and add to you. Part 7. One Friday morning, Mama Mary announced over breakfast, I'm going to visit my cousin in Murahua this weekend. I should be back by Monday. Munana and Tapiwa nodded, both trying to mask a twinge of nervousness at the thought of her absence. Her presence always anchored the home. That evening, Tapiwa arrived from work with his usual cheerful energy. But something was off. The house felt strange. The air was heavier, silent. Even the soft ticking of the clock seemed louder than usual. Munana greeted him with her usual warm smile, but it felt a little forced. He couldn't quite place the unease. Still, they had supper together, a quiet meal with laughter that didn't fully reach the eyes. Afterward, Tapiwa stretched his arms and said casually, Some colleagues from work are out nearby. They invited me out for drinks. Come along, Munana, just to get out for a bit. She hesitated. I don't really know them. Exactly, he grinned. Time to change that. She agreed, and they headed out. The night spot was alive with chatter, music, and clinking glasses. The group from work was lively, loud, and welcoming. Tapiwa introduced her to everyone. Among them was a girl named Titi, tall, sharply dressed, and clearly possessive. From the moment Munana sat down, Titi latched onto Tapiwa like a magnet. Her manicured fingers curled around his arm, and her laughter was just a touch too loud when he spoke. She made sure the world knew. She had staked her claim. And yet, Tapiwa didn't respond to her touches. In fact, his eyes kept drifting to Munana, who sat across the table, quietly sipping her juice, eyes wide with curiosity as she took in the unfamiliar world around her. Titi noticed, and she didn't like it. As the evening progressed, a male colleague named Blessing leaned toward Munana, starting a friendly conversation. He was charming and talkative, and soon had her smiling and laughing, a sight that made Tapiwa's chest tighten. When Blessing leaned in and said, So, can I get your number? Maybe take you out sometime? Tapiwa's face darkened. Without a word, he stood, walked over, and grabbed Munana's wrist. We're leaving. Blessing blinked. Ah, but she hasn't even... She's with me, Tapiwa snapped. He pulled her away from the table, ignoring the erupting laughter and teasing whistles from the group. The only one not laughing was Titi. Her eyes narrowed, her lips curled in silent fury. Whatever she had planned, she hadn't expected this. Outside, the night air hit them like a slap, cold and biting. Munana tugged her arm free. Why did you do that? She asked softly, more confused than angry. He didn't answer immediately. They stood in silence. I didn't like how he was talking to you, Tapiwa finally muttered. He was just being friendly, she said. I was just smiling. Tapiwa turned to face her. Let's go home. Part 8 final. The walk home after the awkward night out was silent. Each step was heavy with thoughts left unsaid, hearts pounding louder than footsteps. When they reached the door, they quietly entered and parted ways into their rooms without speaking further. But silence has its limits. 2 hours later, at the exact same moment, both doors creaked open. Tapiwa stepped out still in his shirt, now slightly wrinkled from restless tossing. Munana, too, emerged in her modest floral dress, her hair let down and her face unreadable. They froze upon seeing each other, both startled by the timing, both holding their breath. And then they moved, steps fast but hesitant. They closed the space between them until only a breath of air remained. Tapiwa's hand twitched, unsure if he should reach for her. Munana looked up, eyes wide but not afraid. She opened her mouth to speak, but he beat her to it. "Nana," he whispered. It was the first time he had shortened her name, and something about the intimacy in that one word made her eyes glisten. She didn't wait. She stepped into him and wrapped her arms around his waist. He hesitated for a second, then held her tight, letting his forehead rest against hers. His fingers trailed up, gently cradling her face, and he kissed her. Not rushed, not hungry, but deep, slow, and full of everything he had buried for so long. It was as if the world stopped. Nothing else mattered, only the two of them, finally unafraid. He lifted her into his arms effortlessly. She didn't speak, just held on tighter as he carried her to his room. He laid her gently on the bed like something sacred. Then he paused. He sat beside her and looked into her eyes. "Are you sure?" he asked softly, afraid to break her heart or cross a line. Munana reached for his hand, holding it between both of hers. "I'm sure," she whispered. And so, the night unfolded slowly, like a song only they could hear. It wasn't just desire. It was trust. It was the years of longing, of pain, of finding one another in the chaos of life. Every touch was a reassurance. Every kiss was a thank you. Every heartbeat whispered, "You're mine." Outside, the wind rustled the trees, the moon hanging gently over their rooftop like a silent witness. Inside, love bloomed. Not the childish kind, but something deeper, forged by shared loss and unspoken promises. When the night settled into quiet breaths and tangled limbs, Munana lay with her head on Tapiwa's chest. She could hear his heartbeat. Steady, warm, home. "I used to dream of what love looked like," she murmured. "And?" she smiled, tracing small circles on his skin. "It looks like you." Tapiwa kissed her forehead. "Then I'm never letting you go." The end. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. To listen once to the full story, link in my bio. Don't forget to subscribe. Part 8 final. The walk home after the awkward night out was silent. Each step was heavy with thoughts left unsaid, hearts pounding louder than footsteps. When they reached the door, they quietly entered and parted ways into their rooms without speaking further. But silence has its limits. 2 hours later, at the exact same moment, both doors creaked open. Tapiwa stepped out still in his shirt, now slightly wrinkled from restless tossing. Munana, too, emerged in her modest floral dress, her hair let down and her face unreadable. They froze upon seeing each other, both startled by the timing, both holding their breath. And then they moved, steps fast but hesitant. They closed the space between them until only a breath of air remained. Tapiwa's hand twitched, unsure if he should reach for her. Munana looked up, eyes wide but not afraid. She opened her mouth to speak, but he beat her to it. "Nana," he whispered. It was the first time he had shortened her name, and something about the intimacy in that one word made her eyes glisten. She didn't wait. She stepped into him and wrapped her arms around his waist. He hesitated for a second, then held her tight, letting his forehead rest against hers. His fingers trailed up, gently cradling her face, and he kissed her. Not rushed, not hungry, but deep, slow, and full of everything he had buried for so long. It was as if the world stopped. Nothing else mattered, only the two of them, finally unafraid. He lifted her into his arms effortlessly. She didn't speak, just held on tighter as he carried her to his room. He laid her gently on the bed like something sacred. Then he paused. He sat beside her and looked into her eyes. "Are you sure?" he asked softly, afraid to break her heart or cross a line. Munana reached for his hand, holding it between both of hers. "I'm sure," she whispered. And so, the night unfolded slowly, like a song only they could hear. It wasn't just desire. It was trust. It was the years of longing, of pain, of finding one another in the chaos of life. Every touch was a reassurance. Every kiss was a thank you. Every heartbeat whispered, "You're mine." Outside, the wind rustled the trees, the moon hanging gently over their rooftop like a silent witness. Inside, love bloomed. Not the childish kind, but something deeper, forged by shared loss and unspoken promises. When the night settled into quiet breaths and tangled limbs, Munana lay with her head on Tapiwa's chest. She could hear his heartbeat, steady, warm, home. "I used to dream of what love looked like," she murmured. "And?" she smiled, tracing small circles on his skin. "It looks like you." Tapiwa kissed her forehead. "Then I'm never letting you go." The end. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. To listen once to the full story, link in my bio. Don't forget to subscribe.